A man must gather a group for a rescue on a paddle boat in an epic storm.
Welcome to the Walt Vault with Andre,
Michelle,
Emily,
And Luis.
We are a family-friendly podcast where each and every week we watch and review a different Disney movie. Be sure to subscribe on all podcast platforms and YouTube. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to the Walt Vault, episode 119.
wow, we're almost to 120.
That's right. We're
I like it.
119.
119.
Go get your daddy.
No.
Go get your daddy.
Stop it.
Mommy?
We were having a daddy conversation before this.
Emily called Luis dad. She was like, hey, dad, I really like that, blah, 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 something, something. And I was like, huh? Like, that's weird. You called him dad, but, I mean, they have kids, so that's normal. But I was like, I do that. I tell Douglas, go get your daddy to take you for a walk.
Yeah, Douglas
Not
is
mommy.
our
Go
dog.
get daddy.
A non-human dog.
Yeah.
A non-human dog.
Yeah,
He's our son.
Because you know there's
He-
other types of dogs.
He speaks very little English.
Whatever.
He's a dog
Luis
dog.
and I don't have the same like viewpoints on dogs. Like my dog is literally my son. He owns the house, and Luis is
He
always
owns
like
the
that
house.
My
dog.
kids do not own
He
the
does
house.
not
Well, he
own
owns
the
the
house.
couch. He's the king of the couch.
Go
He-
get your daddy.
He tries to be the king of the
Yeah,
couch,
it's
for
it's
sure.
so bad with me and dogs that, me and him kind of talked about, like, what if couples owned a dog and, like, they had to share custody? Because I've heard of that, and I was like,
my God,
dude,
this was like a
if
10-minute
that
conversation
happens-
yesterday.
forget that. Get the dog. I don't care.
He says that
Like,
now.
well, Andre and I joke because I always used to tell him like, if you break up with me, Dougie's mine because I bought him. Like that's my
Yeah.
dog. And then when
I
we got
used my
married,
$2
And then
to
when-
buy this dog.
he was $250. Thank
Okay.
you. But
Thank you
when,
very
when
much.
Excuse me.
I told Andre, I said, if we ever get divorced, Dougie's gonna miss you
I
because
was like, yeah, you're
I
right.
bought him, so he is mine.
Hope you have fun having a depressed dog because he's just going to be missing me.
He does kind of like Andre more than
Yep.
me because Andre takes him on walks.
Yeah, it's because you said go find your daddy. See, it's
Yeah.
full a
He
circle.
he likes whoever he can get the most from. He loves me when I have cheese and French fries and pizza. Like he really loved you that day you had pizza. You know?
I'm just saying,
He
you
was
guys
like,
want
"What
a
up?"
kid. This is rule number one.
Mhm.
They want what they can get from you.
Right.
And
They're
moving
like,
on, I
they're
want
like
what I
inmates
want.
at prison.
Dougie likes me
Oh.
because he can cuddle with me and lick my face, and it's fine. But he cannot do that with Andre.
You want to know whose face can't be licked?
Who's? Me.
The guy in this movie that we're supposed to be talking about.
This week, we are talking about the 2016 live-action Disney film, The Finest Hours.
Unaptly named.
It stars
Yeah, I don't know
Chris
why this movie was
Pine,
called that.
Casey Affleck, and is directed by Craig Gillespie.
So it's doing it again. You guys, my phone is playing.
What's happening?
Okay.
Give me this.
Okay, first off, it's
I can,
not on
I can
playing.
fix it.
But it is. Listen to it.
No, you're hearing the nursery rhyme song from the kids' room that's playing because
No,
they're sleeping.
my phone is. Put it up to your ear.
I'm wearing big old
It's
headphones.
playing
I just
rain
tried-
sounds because when I go to bed at night, I tell it to play rain sounds. But I'm not sleeping, phone.
I think that we need to get your phone out your face.
Yeah, go ahead and just
Put
it,
this to your ear.
put it
Michelle,
down.
Put it to your ear. Just
This is
she
something
doesn't believe
no
me.
one cares about.
I care because you just fixed it and it's still doing it, and that's creepy.
It's still doing it. It's kind of freaking me out now.
Okay, do I need to pause this?
Yes.
Okay,
It's
phone
okay.
problems have been fixed.
It's been fixed. We had to restart it.
Yes, they were so interested to know. Yes, so The Finest Hours, starring Chris Pine and Casey Affleck and a whole bunch of other people that I didn't realize were going to be in this movie, including the original Hulk, Eric Bana, as Mr. Clough or whatever his name was. And then
Yeah, you kept making comments like, "Hey, that's that dude from that. That's that dude from that," and I honestly didn't recognize any of them. But
there was a pretty recognizable cast. Not necessarily
I didn't
any
know-
of these people were super famous.
you were like, "That's
I
that guy
didn't
from
know
The Good
where I
Place."
knew anybody from, but almost every single man that came on screen, I was like, "Hey,
He's
I've
in that
seen him.
thing.
Yeah,
He's
he
in
was
something.
in blah blah blah."
Right.
So I agree. Very relatable cast,
Yeah,
but
like
not
all
particularly
character actors.
notable.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, let's go ahead and
Except
go.
for Casey Affleck, who I had no idea who he was, but then he made a face, and I was like, oh, Ben!
Yeah.
Oh, my God! Ben!
It's a little baby Ben.
Oh, my God! Whoa!
It's little Ben's baby brother.
Who's Ben?
Casey
Affleck?
Affleck is Ben,
Affleck's brother?
Oh.
Yeah, the guy on the ship.
Just was like, is Ben a character? I don't know. I didn't recognize anybody from this besides Chris Pine, so we good.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's go ahead and go into our first impressions of The Finest Hours. Just a reminder, this is Luis's birthday choice episode, and none of us have seen this movie.
Except for, wait, Luis, had you seen it?
No, he had not.
Oh, okay.
He picked it because he wanted to watch it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So, Andre, what is your first impression of The Finest Hours?
The Finest Hours. So I remember vaguely when this movie was first coming out, and I was seeing like trailers for it and stuff, and I was like, oh, look at that. Chris Pine is in a movie that I'm never going to watch. I can't believe it. Look at that. It's amazing. I have zero interest in ever watching this movie.
Yeah, we both made the comment that this style of movie in general is not our jam. Like, this isn't a movie that I'm like, that looks good. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
That's a movie that sounds like a nope.
It's like there's a whole bunch of negatives for me. It's like
Yeah.
rescue mission, boat rescue mission, Boston boat rescue mission. I just don't care.
Water, anxiety.
Water.
No thanks.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like a super fun film for me to watch. And so upon actual watching it, I was right. I didn't really care for this at all. This was a whole waste of an hour and 57 minutes.
Wow, I didn't know he felt that strongly.
It was really slow and pretty boring, even in the exciting parts. Like, I'm watching these dudes who have been working out on this boat, and they're about to lose their lives, and I'm like, can we hurry up? Can we get through this already?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious! It felt very slow and unmethodical, and the performances were fun because I got to hear everybody do these Boston accents. But aside from that, I didn't really get a lot of enjoyment from this movie.
Fair enough. With that being said, I think we will go to Emily next.
I'm probably gonna have the closest first impression to Andre. I you guys know, you guys have listened to this enough. I don't like movies that invoke really any feelings other than like pure happiness, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because this kind of stuff, this mayhem, gives me a lot of anxiety, and I feel like I'm just sitting on the edge of my seat. Similarly, like, come on, like, do it or don't do it already. Like, I just can't.
Right.
And because they showed, spoiler, I guess, like the ship cut in half so early, I was like, this is going to be 2 hours of this.
Rescue mission.
Jeez Louise, right? So I was like already annoyed. But my first impression overall is that it was haphazardly done, because there was a lot of cool stuff that happened if you think of it like holistically, but I didn't care about any of the characters.
Right.
Like, the character development was just so
It's like
subpar.
bad across the board.
Yeah, I did not care like about his like relationship with this like
Whatever,
fiance
Miriam,
lady.
bear lady.
Yeah, I didn't even know what her name was. Like, I just Louise, it's Miriam. I just didn't particularly care, and that bothers me. I want to care that you're gonna like possibly die out here.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I cared about the characters you shouldn't care about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like the old crotchety
The old crotchety
first
man
mate
who
guy.
hurt his arm.
Oh, the
pop.
fisherman?
the fisher.
I liked him.
No, not him.
No.
He was annoying.
He was
but
on the
Oh,
boat.
he was fine.
But anywho, so overall, I feel like it had a lot of potential,
Yes.
and it was beautiful. They did a really good job.
It was shot pretty
But
well.
I just feel like if you're gonna do it, do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like they cared enough to develop the characters. Have less characters if you need to. I don't know.
Oh, there was a lot.
All
There was
right.
a fair amount of characters.
So
in
anywho,
this.
Fair enough.
Overall,
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
music was good.
Oh,
Music was
Luis
good.
would
Music.
like to go next. Luis, first impression.
I like this movie a lot, actually. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it was the best, but it's my type of movie. I mean, I understand you guys need character development, but you kind of have to go. And I probably should have warned you guys ahead of time, but you got to go into these type of movies and understand it's not what it's about.
Well,
That
sure.
way you could get that filter out the way, and maybe like it a little bit more would be my hope. But I understand your guys' opinion. There's just no room for character development when it comes to these type of movies, if
Yeah.
you ask me.
But
And-
I
and
thought there was character development in Togo. Well, maybe
But
not.
think about the difference
Togo
in the number
came
of
from being
characters.
a little devil to potentially being a pretty
Right.
awesome
But
dog.
think
No,
of the
because
number
they were
of
showing all the
character
flashbacks
difference.
and stuff.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there was literally like 3 people to focus on. This one there was 32 people on that boat, and they tried
Yeah.
to give like
Everybody had
a little bit
moment.
of time.
Mm-hmm. Or
But
something.
yeah,
at
I liked
least.
it a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely could have been way better. But my argument is could have been way better in terms of being more concise because there was some holes that were introduced but not explained, but then kind of they were negated,
into
I
that
guess.
part, I think.
You know,
Mhm.
but the reason why I think it could have been better because of those reasons. But
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
Sure.
I
Well,
liked it a lot.
I'll give my first impression. I definitely went into this knowing this is the kind of movie that I'm not interested in at all, and this is a total Luis movie. So I'm like trying to watch it from his perspective, but I need to set the scene a little bit for you guys. Before we watched this movie, we watched an episode of The Office from from the final season,
Uh-huh.
where Jim and Pam they're dealing with some discrepancies in their marriage, and they're going to marriage counseling, and they made up, and it was so nice, and I was crying. Okay, I was crying, and Andre was hardcore making fun of me. He's like, "You're crying over Jim and Pam on The Office
No,
right
no,
now."
no.
Oh no.
Don't put words in my
I'm
mouth.
saying-
But
you
go
were
ahead.
you were hysterically laughing because I was crying.
Yes.
Hysterically laughing. And then I was like, well, at least I got the crying out of the way now because I'm probably going to cry for this movie, right? I felt nothing when it came to this movie. Like, I didn't feel any emotion. I wasn't worried that he was going to die out on the boat and leave his fiance behind. Like, I didn't even care about her. I don't dislike boat rescue mission movies because I like the ocean. So I liked all of the scenes where they're showing like these really scary waves and like the boat's going through it. And I think even though I did like that part, the whole time I was like, I hate this, because it does make you feel like that anxiety, right? So I respected all those parts of the movie, but I was really worried that I was going to feel a lot of feels in this movie, and I didn't. So, I'll just save those feels for The Office. But
Where they belong.
Oh
Yeah,
my
not
god.
that type of movie.
yeah, it definitely wasn't. So I wasn't upset about that because I was like prepared to cry
Yeah.
a lot, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't cry. My only gripe with this movie is I think I would have enjoyed it more if it was shot in a different way. We watched this movie during the day with no lights on in our house, and we closed the blinds, but it was so dark that a lot of the times I was like, I don't know what's happening in the movie right now.
Yeah.
It's so dark that I can't see their faces. I don't know what's happening. So I don't know if you guys got that vibe
No,
too.
No, I didn't have that problem.
You guys
Even
didn't
at
have that problem.
The dead of
we
night
did.
scenes towards the end.
We
it
were
was-
like, I can't tell what's going on in this movie because every scene is dark. And so then I stopped
Oh.
like caring halfway through. I was like, whatever, they're just probably under the water. Like, I don't know.
That's weird. No, we did not have that problem.
Okay.
We actually, I thought it was very clear. Like
Interesting.
those ocean scenes were very clear.
they weren't clear for us. So maybe it was just
Maybe it was our
because we
TV
had
and
those
the-
really big windows in
the
our
gl-
house
the
and
glare.
Yeah.
we just couldn't get in like a good spot to watch it. So that kind of like hindered
Oh yeah,
my
that's
watching
Yeah.
experience
It was
a little
definitely
bit.
dark.
But I didn't think it was bad. Like Andre didn't like it at all. Emily didn't really like it either. I thought it was fine. It was good for what it was, but it's not my kind of movie. But
Yeah.
it wasn't bad in my opinion. It
Okay,
was good.
Okay, I'm really happy that we have very different opinions because that makes it much more interesting to me. But Luis, I have a question for you because you're saying it's not that kind of movie, which okay, I get that. But I would love for you right now to tell me the equivalent of this movie in another movie that we've all seen so that we can understand what
kind of
the
movie it
lack
is?
of character development is okay in. Like, what other movie is like this that we've seen? Because I want to fight you. That's why. I'm
Not for the podcast.
No, I'm just
Just
saying
in
like
general.
movie in general.
A
have you seen
comparable
that's
movie.
like this?
Something probably based
This
on a
reminds
true
me of like
story.
a war movie that I don't care about.
Have you guys ever seen The Gray with Liam Neeson?
No.
I never watched that, but I heard he fights wolves.
Um,
And
I'd
wins.
probably say The Revenant.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The Revenant.
I
to a
haven't
certain
seen The
degree.
Revenant.
Revenant,
Well-
I love.
Okay, so we've definitely seen The Revenant because do you remember the Christmas party a couple years ago?
Yeah,
we had
but all
when
you did was
couldn't
show
talk
me
about
the
the
bear
We
scene.
only watched that scene where he was
We
getting eaten by the
only
bear.
watched the scene with the bear.
That's
and
all
then
I saw.
all night we were like, "Don't talk about the bear."
But
And then I told you I was pregnant for the first time.
Oh yeah.
Right after the
but
bear.
pretty
yeah.
much it's that kind of movie in terms of like it's man versus nature.
But
type
you
of
cared
stuff.
about him.
Not really.
Yeah.
I did.
You had to.
Have
I
you
just cared for that he would survive so he can finish his
Okay.
mission, but
But that's caring about
Luis,
him
have
because he
you
has
have
a
you seen the
purpose.
there
movie?
really wasn't a lot of character development with him either. He was just grunting for 2 hours.
Have you seen
I
the
don't know how
movie
he won the
Message in a
Oscar for
Bottle?
that.
Have you seen the movie Message in a Bottle?
No one has seen the movie
No.
Message in a Bottle.
It reminded me of that movie, but that movie is better.
Again, it's just that type of movie, man versus element.
Right.
You know, there's not going to be character development. Same
So-
thing if you guys
I
ever
just
seen.
feel like you can't make that overgeneralized statement because I've definitely seen movies that are man versus nature, and there's a ton of character development. What about what's his face on a deserted island all by himself, and what's he whining about?
Wilson.
Wilson. Isn't there character
And
development
what's
in that
he
movie?
whining about?
And
Not
that's
really.
man versus nature.
Yes.
There was no character development in that movie.
So okay,
Mm.
but regardless of the
he
character
just developed
development,
from taking his life for granted to wanting to live.
Right.
That's not much development.
regardless of
All
all
right.
that, the aspect of this movie that you enjoyed is like Bernie in the water going against the currents and the waves and stuff like that, and ending up succeeding at the mission.
Yeah, he likes
Yes.
the mission piece of it.
Being
And
Chuck Norris going into, the most worst place ever and just roundhouse kicking somebody and getting
I
out.
liked I liked the I don't remember his name, but the guy who had lived on the boat and the boat was like his whole life.
that was Luis's favorite character.
I like him way
Yes,
better than
Mr.
Bernie.
That's
Like
Ben
they were
Affleck.
trying to pretend
That's
that
Casey
Bernie
Affleck.
was the main character, and I was like, I
No.
like this dude.
That guy was better. That
That-
guy was.
Yeah.
To
Luis
me, that
kept
guy was the
saying
main
that was his
character.
favorite.
Was
So-
his name Mr. Squirmy or
Mr. Siebert.
Siebert.
Mr.
Squirmy?
Mr.
Whatever.
Squirmy.
I liked him a lot.
He was good. I honestly think out of all the characters, for how that character was written,
Mhm.
he did the best for his character.
I wish
Like-
they would
I
have
think so, too.
started the movie with him.
Agreed.
He should have been the main character.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I agree, because the way that it's set up, right? So we can
I agree.
we can kind of get into the plot here. It starts off where we're seeing Chris Pine. His character's name is Bernie, and
Hold on, can we pause right here?
yes,
I was so worried about him being the main character because I think I said this, and I'm going to say this in the most PC way possible, but
okay.
he just has a face that I think he is not.
He looks
like-
like he beats up nerds, or
Yeah, like he's like I know the word I want to say, but it's
Just say it. We'll bleep
he's
it
a,
out.
he's a bully. He
he's
looks
a
bully.
kid.
Okay,
like
there you
I'm
go.
sorry,
Oh, yeah,
like
the douche face.
yeah, he just has that face where you're like, oh god, right? And
Yeah.
especially because the last thing I saw him in was the Princess
Princess
Diaries
Diaries
2.
2.
Oh.
Isn't he
he's-
in Cinderella? No, he's not in Cinderella.
He's
Story.
just such like a bleh in that movie. So when he showed his face on screen, I was like, oh god, here we go. But he actually played this character
Mm-hmm.
well. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to start off with the fact that even though I don't really care about his character, he played like this
Yeah.
kind of down-hearted, even though I was a little. Anywho, go ahead.
He's
Go
like
ahead.
I
down to
love
earth.
Mr. Siegel. He
And
was
like-
I thought that
Seabird.
Luis
Seabird.
would have liked Bernie a little bit because he was like a rule follower. I was like, this is Luis's kind of guy, right? But Siebert, I liked way more because I know that this was called like the finest hours, and I'm really glad they did it from both perspectives. But when this movie starts, you get the gist that it's really just going to be about Bernie
Right.
and how he's going to save the people on this wrecked boat that has split in half, right? Like, yes, everything he did was extremely heroic, and he went over the bar and he found them without a compass and all of this stuff. But
You mean he went over the bar?
the
bar.
bar, sounds like Andre's
Chatham.
uncle.
Oh yeah, my
Uncle
my
Steve.
Uncle Steve.
Uncle Steve.
Yeah,
he
he's-
talks like that.
He's also from
He's
Massachusetts.
from yeah. The other guy I felt like was a million times more heroic. Where I was like, wow, I'm like enjoying his perspective way more. So every time they kind of cut back to Bernie, I was like, whatever.
Oh yeah, a million times agree with you with that one because like this guy's literally on half a ship. He's literally knocking on the door of death, and Bernie's nowhere near death to that
Yeah.
point.
Like
Yeah.
they're cheering about Bernie at the end of the movie. I was like, what about Seabird?
Y'all
That
know
guy
Seabird.
saved, like yes, don't get me wrong. Bernie went in there. He saved all 32 because he went all the way out there. But if Mr. Siebert wouldn't have engineered and done the stuff he did, Bernie would have never gotten to him.
There wouldn't have been no 32 to save if Seabird hadn't been there for
Exactly.
sure.
It took both of them for sure, but I liked his perspective more,
So-
in my opinion.
Agreed. This movie reminded me, which I guess we'll get into plot at some point, but it
Yeah, the plot's
reminds
pretty
me of
straightforward.
watching Lord of the Rings for the first time. Now,
Oh.
I just have to like put a pause because I actually really like the Lord of the Rings now, but I remember the first time I watched this movie and especially like the second movie. What is that one? The Two Towers.
Two Towers.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like watching Frodo go off with the ring, and you're like, all right, Frodo, I'm gonna take the ring, do your thing. And then you see like, oh, Legolas and Aragorn and Gimli, and they're
yeah.
doing their thing, and they're gonna go to get Pippin.
Let's
and
just keep following
and
them.
Merry. And then he goes back to Lawrence, and they're gonna go up to Lawrence, and okay. And then they're gonna go, and they're gonna fight the orcs, and then you're gonna back to, like,
I agree with you.
it's like, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I like what you're saying. The boat was really interesting,
Yeah.
I loved watching all that
was
stuff.
like
which I thought I was going to hate because that's like the Titanic side
Oh,
of
I love
the
Titanic
movie.
though.
Right.
Ooh, Titanic's such a good movie.
I thought
Mm-mm.
during this movie several times, like, man, I wish we were watching Titanic instead.
We both
Um,
said that because we've been wanting to watch it, and we haven't rewatched it yet just because it's so long. But I'm like, I really want to watch Titanic now.
I would still watch this over Titanic any day.
Come on.
Big time.
I just watched the second half of the movie of
There's
Titanic.
boobs in
Just-
Titanic,
just
man. That
skip
puts this
all of
over
the-
this way higher.
Skip
way
all the
higher,
love
dude.
stuff. Just go to the second half. Like as soon as the ship starts sinking. Yep,
Ugh.
the best part.
I don't know. I saw.
I'm
Hey,
really morbid, guys. It's fine.
I saw
we know
pretty
this about
exposed
me.
ankle, Andre.
Yeah, I guess it was a half an ankle in here. Miriam went out without her coat on at one
There
point.
you
I was like,
go.
oh, look at her go.
Shoulders.
Better go get
So
that
let's-
coat, girl.
I know Emily was like, maybe we'll get into the plot, but here's the plot. Okay,
Here we go.
we're supposed to feel this love connection between Miriam and Bernie. And I told Andre as soon as the movie started, they're only doing this so that we feel scared when he goes out on the boat and has to save
Good
all of
God.
the seamen. And I didn't care. Like it didn't make me like if he had died I would have been like poor Miriam. Like I didn't care, you know what I mean? So sorry about it.
So-
Luis, what was that?
No, nothing.
Cuz I said
Stop it.
Moving
Anyway,
on. Moving
so
on.
yes, I agree. I agree with that point. Where I think
Sailors.
the part of this movie about it being based on a true story. So they're really trying to incorporate all of these elements that must have been going on during the actual story of this
Yeah.
movie. But I just don't think that they implemented any of it very well. Like in the beginning, they're showing Chris Pine, what's his name, Bernie,
Bernie.
and he's meeting up with Miriam for the first time, and they're starting to date or whatever. And people keep bringing up this thing that happened last year, this thing with Landry, this thing that happened where he couldn't save all the other dudes on the other ship or whatever. And that's never like really fully explained. And
not enough.
I think that's an opportunity for them in this movie, for them to have cut back, shown him in that situation versus how he ends up in the situation at the end of this movie, and we can see how his character has grown.
And
And
then
that
we
would have
might
given
have
us some character development.
Been more scared for him.
Right.
Agreed. Because
You know?
when we watch him in this role, present time, he looks semi-defeated.
Right.
And the people that he works with, FYI, the Coast Guard, seem to not have lost faith in him.
Yeah.
But my first,
It ain't
like,
his fault.
and that's the thing. My
Y'all
first
calm
thought
down.
in this is like, I mean, I'm not trying to act like I know everything about the Coast Guard, but like, I'm trying to equate it to like a fireman.
Yeah.
Okay. You go into situations knowing the risks. You know that you will probably not save every single person every single time.
And that you could die.
And that you could die.
Right.
So I'm confused as to why everyone is so mad
Everyone-
That he
that
wasn't
he-
able to save
that
them.
he didn't save all these people, when I'm like, he probably has saved however many other people, like doing other things.
And
But
it didn't seem like whatever he did or didn't do back at the time for the Landry thing was even his fault. Like it seemed
Like he couldn't get
just
over the
couldn't get
bar
over the
because
bar.
it was too stormy and he probably would have died.
And he probably tried.
Well,
or was called back and was given direct orders to not go out there and do
But
it.
they didn't give us any of that, so we're all speculating and literally have
Yeah.
no idea. That's
Yeah.
why it's very confusing.
Exactly. And
people are holding grudges against him, like
Yeah.
major grudges.
my sister, she's living with me now, so that's your fault because you didn't save her husband, my
And
brother.
then that
or whatever.
direct dude comes
But,
back and
like-
is like giving them information. It's very
It's like, what is
confusing.
going
don't you think
on?
instead you should be like, thanks for trying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think if some, like, let's say hypothetically, we were in some burning building
Mm-hmm.
and so some of us died. I wouldn't go to the people who tried to save him and been like, you messed up.
No,
Like,
or
that
like a
just
first
seems, like,
responder.
weird.
Like if
Yeah.
like the EMT comes to your house and, for example, your grandma's dying,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be like, you let her
You
die.
didn't save her.
Like, no, he did everything he could,
Right.
and
But I think people do that. But like in this
I don't
situation,
know. It's
especially
just
with
bizarre.
the like it's the freaking Coast Guard, I wanted to be like, you get on your ship and go out there, dude. I wouldn't have.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
so
very bizarre.
all of this to say that it really doesn't give us a lot to go with here for Bernie and his character going forward throughout the entirety of the movie, basically. So he starts off and he's all like humble and kind of shy and stuff like that, and he's like flirting around with this girl, but even then he doesn't really want to commit because he thinks that if he marries her, then he's gonna possibly end up making her a widow or something like that.
Well,
Like,
and
I
the
think
best
that's
part
the
of
fear
that-
he
I
has.
think
That's
what
the
we
best
were
part is
supposed to
that
think.
we don't know that is the fear, because in the movie, plot-wise, literally you see them on the first date,
Mhm.
then it cuts to a couple
like
months
6 months later, maybe.
and they're at a dance, and he's teaching her how to dance, and it's very cute.
It's
Like,
cute.
I'm liking it or whatever, and
They're
she
vibing.
and she literally is like,
Will you marry me?
"Will you marry me?" And kind of
First
it,
of
like,
all,
shocks-
weird for the 50s.
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's weird for the 50s. It's weird for the viewer because they didn't give us enough to like think that this was that
Serious
Is
far
this even
or
real?
along.
Have
whatever,
y'all said
yeah.
I love you yet? Are you
Yeah,
living together? What's
Ex-
going on?
Exactly. I have no idea. And then immediately he says no. So
And then
it's
doesn't offer any explanation.
none. So it's like, oh, that's where we
Well,
at.
and then
Okay.
when he goes after her outside and he's like trying to talk to her, he's like, okay, fine. We'll get married if that's what's going to make you happy. And I was like, is this a pity marry now?
Exactly. Now
like,
but-
Right.
I think what we were kind of what they were wanting us to feel is like he probably, because he made a comment of like the storm's coming and like, you know, something. So maybe he like was like, I don't want to marry her if I am going to die right now. Like, I mean, it's only been a few months. There's a storm coming. You don't know,
Right.
something. So it made it sound like he didn't want to marry her in case he died.
which
type of
I'm
thing.
cool with that fear. I get
But
it.
like
but
say
like,
that.
yeah, I don't know.
Or
I
give
just-
us the context for that.
Yes.
Because later in the movie, we see this single mother who helps out Miriam, right? And she's got 2 kids, and the kids are always, yapping or whatever in the back seat.
I
And,
laughed at that. I won't lie. I was like, hey.
Yeah.
and
Got that.
It turns out that her late husband was one of the people who went out on the landry and died in the
died.
water or something like that. I think.
she
Or
is
maybe
He was
even-
a
gracious.
fisherman who died.
Right.
He was supposed to get rescued.
And she was gracious towards Bernie.
She was
Right.
like, yeah,
Did
he's
you
a
notice
great
that?
guy. He
She
tried.
was like, well, he tried what he. But then the brothers met. Like
the
I'm
brother was like,
so
I can't even believe you're
And-
helping Bernie. You're helping Bernie. Bernie went out there and tried to save your husband, and he failed, and now you want to help him? I was like, what are you talking
And
about?
does
wait
the-
for
It was
this.
weird.
Luis is upset.
And like, what was this brother-in-law to him?
Right.
Is he more upset because like he now has his nagging sister who he can't stand? Or
I'm pretty
because
sure.
his brother-in-law was his best friend. There's
yeah,
no explanation.
there's no explanation for
Luis
for
was like,
any of
is it his brother or her brother? And who?
Oh, yeah, for
who's
a
the
s-
in-law?
For
Like
a split
I'm
second,
confused.
the way he was so angry made me think that
It was his brother.
his brother.
Right.
It might
and
have
he
been.
refers to her as his sister.
Yeah, which
I think it's
which
his in-law.
could make sense.
I
Like the
think- no,
sister
it-
is his in-law,
It makes me think that it's his sister that's his in-law,
right?
not the brother who passed.
But like this is
Who
easy
knows?
stuff to fix.
Yes.
Like don't make
They should
us-
have explained
the
it.
fact that we care so much about that part
Yeah.
is really
Because it
like,
pissed me off.
yeah, like that really is telling that the rest of the movie is like gaping in holes too for us
Yeah.
to care about this.
So it kind of all just like circles around the fact that I don't really know what Bernie's motivations are. Like I understand that he wants to save these people
Yeah.
because it's his job, number one, but also because he feels like he had a failure in his past. But I really wish I had seen much more of that past failure. And even if they hadn't shown it to me directly, they definitely could have given us context through more of these conversations. But
Like a
but all-
2-sentence thing. Like it didn't have to be a big deal.
every single time they bring up the past failure, it's super duper vague, and I just don't get what happened, man.
And then also,
Well,
too,
and you want to
have
know the
that-
best part is because this is based on a true story. That is a truism.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had a failure in his past. Like just say what the heck it was.
Yeah, I
like,
don't know why
Like
they-
we'll talk about what the actual failure was in real life, but like. Why couldn't you just say like it was XYZ? It's
Right.
not like they were even taking it off script of what actually happened in real life.
So
and then there was
odd.
like
Like, come
a
on.
weird random dude that just pops out of nowhere in his Coast Guard crew, and he just you get or that he doesn't like him
The
for whatever reason.
Richie guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And
so
I'm like, what? Why?
what's
What
the
he do to
relationship
you?
here? What's going on? Why is he acting like this? It's
And he is real pissy like the whole time.
the entire movie, and they never give you any proper context for why. But at some point, he starts to like respect Bernie, and then they're like brothers. And at the end, Richie is like, "Good job out there, Bernie," or whatever. And it's like, okay,
My guess?
you
Like,
respect him now.
Fantastic.
I don't understand what the.
I mean, my
Cool.
guess is this: that Bernie went out there, tried to save him, couldn't get over the bar, but in trying to do so, that guy and a couple of other dudes were with him, and they capsized, and they had a rough time coming back.
I guess.
But it
Well,
doesn't
that is
explain
such-
it again.
Yeah, that is such a like stretch. Not so much that it's a stretch in that situation, but like the fact that you have to make that up is an issue.
Right.
Like,
For
well,
sure.
and especially too that if he really is as skilled as he is like poised to be,
Mhm.
then why are people not wanting him on their boat? Like, it's not his
Yeah,
fault.
it doesn't
I
make any
don't-
sense. Like
They
from
treat
one
him
scene
like
to the
water bug.
from one scene to the next, they'll go like, "Oh well, Bernie's going out there. He knows what he's doing. He knows these waters. He's never gonna get lost." And then the next scene over is like, "Well, you know what happened in Landry, dude. You know, okay, those people are not gonna make it if Bernie goes out there." and so yeah, it just doesn't make a ton of plot line sense. The fact that they're throwing in all this old Landry stuff, I wish that they would have either left it out completely, just not brought it up, not mentioned it, or fully explained it,
Yeah.
so that we could know what was going on through his
And
head.
similarly, I feel like they could have left it out completely and given us more like maritime understanding.
Yes,
Because you have to have, I think, you have to have at least a little bit of understanding about
boats,
like boats,
Oceans.
and like what a
Currents,
shoal is,
all of that
and
stuff.
how like
I had to look up
Waves-
what a shoal
I
was.
googled what a shoal was. I googled what Chatham means.
and like the bar. Like
Yeah.
I know what a
You
sandbar
mean the
is.
ba?
The bar.
bar.
I know what
Sandbar.
a bar is, but only because I've been snorkeling.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like they could have like cut out a lot and put in more like explanation. Like maybe he's explaining it to her because she's quote unquote never been on a boat. Maybe
Right.
she doesn't know about the stuff.
Yeah.
Like you're just assuming the viewer knows what all these things are, and they talk about this Chatham bar like 900 times.
And I'm like,
But
what
if you
is
don't
the
know
bar,
what the heck
dude?
it is, you're
Dude,
just like,
you got-
okay, it's dangerous, I guess.
You got more maritime explanation from Marlin from Finding Nemo.
Yeah,
for sure.
for show.
You know?
absolutely.
For,
For
sure,
sure.
Luis.
Still love the movie though.
Are those still some panda cookies?
Don't touch the butt. So
Luis, you gotta go give some. Okay, FYI, Luis is eating some cookies right now that are really for me, and he is eating them. And Michelle's like, "Is that a cookie?"
Michelle sees an opportunity.
And then he
again.
didn't say anything. Like you could have just said yes or no.
She sees the biscuit opportunity. She
But
gonna
Michelle
take
sees
it.
another opportunity to take away some food from one of my family
Oh
members.
my god, that is so
From-
dramatic.
but
the
says,
mouths.
says that Luis ate the cookies and they're supposedly for Emily.
That's right.
he's
That's
pull-
what she said. They
I
said
said
they're
those
for-
are my cookies. Go get her the other set of my cookies and give them to her.
It's true. They are supposed to be for you, but there's an unwritten rule in this house
Okay.
that
Oh,
if you go a whole week without touching them and I get them, you can't be mad.
boom.
that's a rule.
That's the unwritten
That's
rule.
Luis's unwritten rule, apparently, because that's why none of my treats are ever
He
there when I
waits
go for them.
1 week and then gobble 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 gobble.
Good God.
Hashtag-
Sometimes that does happen where Andre will like eat the leftover food in the fridge and then he'll text me like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like,
it's
okay.
too late. You had your chance and you didn't take it.
I freaking dig that.
So-
Anywho,
Anyway, another problem.
it's in a box in a bag. You got to get real fancy to open these cookies.
Another problem that I had was kind of with Miriam's her motivation and her plot line. Yeah, I think Bernie and Miriam are supposed to be like the A and B plot lines of this movie, whereas Seabert, the dude on the boat, is like the C plot, but he should be the A plot, and these two should be A or B and
Yeah,
C.
that guy was definitely
Miriam-
She should have like not even had a plot. She should have been like the background.
Yeah, because she tries to take on like the wife in Togo's role, right?
Yeah.
Where after he goes out, then she starts getting in everybody's face, like, where is he? Where's he going? Is he safe? Is he gonna be all right? And they're all just like, lady, you can't be in here. You gotta go. You gotta be gone. And so we spend just like a lot of time following her around, but she's not really doing anything or accomplishing anything.
No.
She goes to the Coast Guard headquarters, and she's like, I need to speak with Commander Clough or whatever his name, Eric Bana.
Eric Bana.
I need to talk to the Hulk, and she doesn't at first. She's like, well,
Yeah.
you can't do that. Why don't you sit in here? And she's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I'll sit in here.
They were like, none of the other wives do this, and I was
Right.
like, okay, calm
It's
down.
like, okay. So here we go. Here's going to be her time to shine. She's really going to show these boys up feminism. And then that doesn't happen. She like goes to talk to Commander Clough, and he's like, you can't be in here. Get out of here. And she's like, tell him to come back. And he's like, no. Tell him to come back. No. Tell him to turn the boat around. He's like, no, get out of here. And then she just gets out of there.
I mean, I would have rather that have just been cut out completely
Yes.
because it served, at least for like, I'm going to call it literary purposes, but you know what I mean, like storytelling purposes.
Yeah.
It serves no purpose.
No, none. She doesn't.
And maybe she really was a character, but like I don't need a non-feminine character doing
Being whiny.
just like whining around.
like it's almost. I almost wonder who wrote her part, and if it was super accurate to what actually happened, because like they basically show her go in there and fail, right? She fails to get him to convince him to come back, even though a little bit later I think he does try to get them to turn around or whatever
Yes.
over the radio, not because of anything that she said at all.
It's because the other boat that went out, because there was one of the plot points we missed, which is pretty much the most interesting thing to me in this whole damn movie.
and they only say it like
That there's
in a
two
sentence.
boats.
Yes. So, okay. So this is like a
It's a crazy storm.
crazy boat, though. This boat is freaking huge.
Huge
like,
cargo
it's a
ship.
Just crazy cargo ship. And it
Oil
an
tanker.
oil tanker,
That's
you're right. It breaks in half. Okay.
Yes.
Boom. That's the first thing.
Half
and then
sinks, those one are dead.
Half goes
Yes.
down. Bye-bye.
So then they're like, oh my God, nobody's going to be able to get us, blah, blah, blah. And then we realize we keep hearing about like this half broken off tanker, blah, blah, blah. There needs to be a rescue. And then we realize that there was actually two cargo oil, whatever,
two
tankers
giant tankers.
out in the
Split in
ocean,
half.
split in half in a very relatively
all
close
within
area.
like 45 miles
That
of,
storm
of
was
one another.
bad.
So this storm is like kicking some booty.
Is tearing these ships apart.
So the crazy thing to me is that both of these happened at the exact same time, and now the Coast Guard has split their
Well, and they're
like what do you call that? Like their
Their efforts.
They don't
efforts.
know about the one boat because they're
Not at first.
confused as to why they see 2 points on the radar that are
Yes.
too far apart. Because if the boat split in half, they would be next to each other.
yeah, near.
So they
Yeah.
were like, well, I guess we'll go get that one.
Yeah.
And they were just like, I don't really get why this other blip is here. But then that man in his house had heard
Yes.
the horn, and he's like,
he knew
you
the
guys,
distress signal.
there's another ship, I think. And so they don't even
Right.
have confirmation that there is another ship. Like they're
Right.
just going out there hoping they're going to run into something, which is also really crazy.
That's why it was like really confusing to me. Okay, so we see the one ship, the one that Casey Affleck is on. We see his ship break in half. All right, we see the half of the ship sink or whatever, right? And then we see his half float off into the rest of the water. In my mind, the ship broke in half, and they saw the two blips. One blip was one half of the ship. The other blip was the other half of the ship. And that they had sent all of their Coastal Guard effort out to the half of the ship that had already sunk. And I was
No,
like,
so
oh,
it
so they're
wasn't
just
like
out there
that.
wasting their time.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It was the other ship.
right. There was two ships. But I didn't get that.
It was the other half of another ship.
It was
only half of each ship survived.
Right.
So there's two halves
Two
of
halves
two different
of
ships
two
out
ships.
there.
And another Coast Guard went out to the other ship. But remember, they had said like a lot of the men had jumped and died, and like
Right.
there was 4 men there who have hypothermia. So they only saved like 4 people from that ship.
Yes, and that's what Miriam heard on the radio and assumed that was Bernie, who had also taken 4 men out on a rescue mission.
Yes,
Yes.
Right.
because
okay.
nobody else knew about this other ship besides that dude who was like, "No, I heard something."
Regardless of all this.
Who is also the guy who doesn't like Bernie,
yes.
which is so confusing to me. Like, what?
Yeah, I know. And then he's like, "It's not because of me that your husband's out there." And she's like, "Yeah, it is." It's weird.
You heard
It's
the
just
horn.
it's just really weird.
Yeah, it's really weird and to me really confusing. Like
Yes.
they should have much more easily
Simplify it.
differentiated.
Maybe they should have
these
included
two
the other
ships.
ship too, and I would have been like, "Oh, that ship."
Maybe just
okay,
a
this
scene with
ship.
different guys in different
yeah.
outfits or different uniforms or something, just so
Or
I could
like
see.
just have them
Or just
speaking
the
a different
Coast Guard-
language or something.
Or
like,
just the
make it
Coast
easy.
Guard like saving that ship and realizing there's only 4 people left, and then them calling and be like, "Hey, we got so and so and so."
Right.
That would have been
exactly.
like a little less confusing. But
I think this movie could have used a lot more clarity in its storytelling.
Agreed. But alas, we finally figure out that that's the ship he's saving. So they are able to get over the bar, which is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life.
It was pretty freaking scary.
So,
Yeah.
Emily, yes, the reason the bar is so dangerous is because it's like, think of Finding Nemo where they're like, the drop-off. It's like that.
Oh, no, yeah. And
Right.
here's the best part.
Wow,
is
I like how I'm using Finding Nemo now.
Well, it's actually, that was very good, Lou.
Yeah.
I just finished reading Where the Crawdads Sing.
Okay.
And that book is based off of the coast of North Carolina. Now, I realize it's not the same part of the coast at all, but it's still the east coast of the United States. And this particular coast where the book is placed is very rugged and is marshland.
Okay.
So for them, there's constant changing in the sandbar. So literally, so much of this book was talking about the sandbar. So I had just
Gotcha.
finished this the day before we
Day
watched
before
this
you
movie.
watched
But
So
they
I'm over
called
here-
it a sandbar.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
over here like, oh, well, changing sandbar. She's going to crash right in. We're going to break off half the boat. Right?
Yeah,
Like, I
because
know
if
it-
Don't
those
get stuck in the
giant,
bayou.
if you don't get over that giant wave that's coming in from the actual mainstream ocean, then yeah, it's gonna pull you back and you're gonna hit
well, and
the
You gotta roll over.
underground and,
what's
you're gonna
really
crack.
what's really crazy here too is like the importance of the tide.
Yes.
Like, the
high
tide has
If,
to
if
be
it's
high.
high tide, yeah, you're gonna get over it. But it was not high tide then
Like,
But they also didn't
They
say
didn't
a lot
explain
of, this
of that.
in the movie.
until the end where they're like, "Wait, we guess we got over the bar. It was high tide."
Your boy over
Okay,
here is
alright.
landlocked. Okay, I don't know nothing about no shoals. I don't know
Well,
nothing
and
about
then
no tides.
Audrey's
okay?
so sweet. He was like, I know what a shoal is. I know what a shoal is. And I was like, what is it? He's like, it's like a shallow place in the ocean. He was like, you remember that one time we were snorkeling and we went out in the middle of the ocean and then it was shallow and then what was like stingrays or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, we swam with some manta rays like in the middle of the ocean because there was a sandbar
Yeah.
in the middle. I'm like, well, they didn't say sandbar, they said shoal, and I didn't know what the heck a shoal was, but it's the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because they always change because of the tide. So
Yeah.
Right.
they're going to be moving, so you can never, you know that generally it will be in this general area, but you don't know where they are, so you can navigate them because
Right.
when the tide moves, it's moving the sand underneath the water.
And they ain't got no compass right now, so.
Oh yeah, and that.
Yeah.
And it's nighttime. And
Yeah, that's the thing that was freaking me out when he was like, okay, cut the headlight because we're going to have a better chance of just like going with the tide and whatever seeing. And I'm just thinking in my head, like,
The
if it is
moon.
so stormy, you're not seeing anything.
The moon?
But
If
isn't,
it was so
aren't there
stormy, Louise,
clouds?
I don't think they would even see the moon.
Yeah.
It's pitch black. I'm convinced for them
Well,
it's
think
pitch
about
black.
it kind of like if you guys were, if it's pitch black out there and you have your headlights, like there's literally no other lights out there,
Yeah.
you're almost blinded by the headlights and you're just looking
You're just
there.
very
Tunnel
focused on,
visioning.
on
I get
what,
it,
what
but
the
I'm
light
just
is
thinking in
shining
my
on.
head, like,
Okay.
they're just floating. They're just floating.
I feel
For
that.
sure.
That's all they're doing.
They
They're
honestly-
just floating until they hope they find something. And he did have a good strategy of like, I'm just going to try to go with the current because if they've shifted down a couple miles or whatever, he's very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
But then in my head, I kept thinking like it was making me nervous when he like could kind of sense the ship there, and I was like, "Turn on your light! You're gonna hit it! You're gonna die!" Like Jesus.
It was cool to watch Bernie, Chris Pine, pilot this ship through all these waves. That I think this is probably the coolest part of the movie.
Dude, that was like a little bathtub boat, man. Jeez, I don't know how you got
That
over
was
the
a
bar.
dinghy.
It's a very small, very, very small boat. And like when they were first getting in it, I was like, I think one of the characters even says like, "We're gonna take this boat to a bigger boat, right?"
And I was right there with him. Like,
and
this
I was
is
like,
a joke.
"Yeah, that has to be what we're doing." And they must have refuted it at the time, but I still was believing that they were gonna have to get on a bigger boat at some point because like, how are you gonna rescue anybody with this thing?
That's
You
why they
barely
got
fit-
helicopters in the Coast Guard now. Like, geez.
You barely
is
fit 2 more
ridiculous.
dudes on this thing. You're gonna supposed to save all these people? Well, but they did. Spoiler. But watching
Except for one.
But watching Chris Pine pilot through these waves, he's like gearing up and going faster and slower as he's reaching each of these waves, and it really shows that he like knows what he's doing. As you said, he's very knowledgeable. He's smart. He feels the ocean.
He can feel the force
He's
of the
really
ocean.
into it. I'm like, how did he fail last time? I don't know.
That's
They
what I'm
didn't show it.
saying. Like, I wish we knew that there was like something that distracted him, or he,
Right.
just had bad luck.
I
or
know. You know what?
something.
I'm gonna go in his defense. Even if he did try last time and got scared and came back, ain't no one blaming you, buddy. Because as I was watching that, I was like, I would have been pooping my pants hardcore.
I
Also,
told Louise
you're
I ain't never
soaked.
going on no cruise.
Well, there is like a lot of. Well, it's so interesting you say that because my family we go on a cruise like every Christmas. We're not this year, obviously, but There was that last year where there was a storm on the boat, and Andre was losing his mind in the middle of the night.
Michelle was asleep.
Yeah, I sleep through anything.
The boat was rocking, okay?
Like hardcore rocking.
Hardcore
Why don't you
rocking.
wake her up? My first thing would have been like, Louise, if I'm going to suffer, you'll suffer too.
Well, okay.
Well,
She's not lying. She can't go to
and
sleep.
it's
She
so
wakes
funny because
my rear end up, and I got work the next day.
my grandma always books the rooms on the lower levels because she gets so seasick. Because if you're on the upper levels and you're in a storm, that's way worse because you are tipping.
Oh, sure, that makes
tipping.
sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I didn't really wake up because it probably wasn't moving as much. Because we went to lunch or dinner or something the next day. Oh, we went to a brunch the next day. And there was some people at our table and they were like, oh, I was up all night. Everybody was on the stairs. They're like throwing up because they were like on level 11 and they said it was so bad. And I'm like, wow, that's terrifying. The very first time I went on a cruise too, there was a storm in the middle of the night and I was just hysterically crying because I was like, why do people do this?
And that's why I didn't wake her up. There's no need for no extra crying. I had my eyes on the safety jackets, the life jackets or whatever. I knew exactly where they were.
Yeah, they make you do that safety
any
thing at the
water
beginning
or
that
had
everybody
entered the boat,
complains about.
Well, then I would have woken her up. But if I had just woken her up, it would have just been a whole bunch of nonsense for several more hours.
Yeah,
for no reason. It's not.
It is scary.
My anxiety is already high because the boat is a rocking, and if she's awake and just freaking out, it's.
But we're a
triple.
giant boat, and they're like that tiny boat. So when I'm watching it, there's moments where the boat was literally completely under the water, like submerged in the water, and Andre was like, "No,
Oh.
no."
I would have died of hypothermia before I even got to the regular boat. They're like, Andre, go out there, save
Dude,
them.
what
Well,
about that
okay?
one-
I'm dead.
What about that one guy that was right in the middle of that thing and he
He's-
hits a mean wave? He flies like 5-10 feet in the air, hits that thing, and he's like, I lost me heart.
This is why they needed
lost
to.
me hot.
They needed
I
to
lost
have
my eye.
way more maritime explanations. They have a dude sitting at the very front of the boat. The
'Cause
very
he-
front.
he's the
sitting-
spotlight.
He's sitting in a hole in the very front of the boat. He does not have the spotlight. The guy behind him has the
So
spotlight.
what is that dude doing?
I don't know.
Me
and
neither.
I don't understand why he's sitting there as they're rushing through waves.
And I kept saying, like, he's literally going to get, like, body capitated. Like,
yeah.
he's
They're,
literally just
they're
gonna
gonna
get slopped
they're gonna
in the
come
side.
up from out of the water, and the top half of him is not gonna be there anymore.
Like when the
I
boat
didn't
was
understand.
under the water, like I get what the current is gonna pop back up, but like still, like
How did he not, like, get sucked out or plunged in? I
you
don't
could have.
understand.
He got lucky, Emily.
I just
Straight
don't-
up.
Oh.
But, like, why was he in there in the first place?
Like,
what was
why
he?
is
what,
that a
what kind of
job?
work
Because
was he
his
doing?
commanding officer said, "Go out there."
Hey, go get in that hole, dog.
But what job is that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like,
Some
I don't-
Listeners, if you want to educate us,
Good
who
God.
here knows
please.
maritime law? What does that dude do?
Maritime
Maritime
law.
law.
Does that have to do with anything? Probably not, but whatever.
So anyway, they after a
I'm gonna
treacherous
look up 1940s Coast Guard.
after a treacherous journey through all these waves,
And
they
he should have been dead. That guy went up 10 feet.
Oh my
And he
goodness.
smacked back
Smack.
I
down.
was like, oh,
Yeah,
he
and
gone.
then he's complaining about his hat, and Andre was like, "The hat ain't saving you from no hypothermia anyway."
You mean that soaked beanie that you had on that wasn't providing any warmth or cover at all from the
I'm sorry.
rain and
He was
snow?
hilarious.
Goodness
Where's my
gracious.
hat?
So
Oh.
at this point, they do eventually get there. So I want us to go now to the other perspective. So these men on the boat, okay? Seabert's team. So Siebert, at first, you know,
I'm still
he-
laughing
he
about the
works-
guy in the boat.
He works in
And engineering.
the engineering at the bottom of the boat, you know, just like in Titanic, where everyone there dies first.
Yeah.
And you can tell they're in a storm, and he's telling the captain up there, like, we need to slow down. We need to slow down. There's a
Going too
crack
fast.
there's a crack in the engine hole. It's not going to keep, whatever. And it sounds like his captain is just not listening to him and doesn't care. So
Right.
Andre and I were like, who is this captain? Like,
Right, where the captain at? What's going on with this guy?
and I said, he can die. I don't care about that captain. Well, he probably did die.
Yeah, he must
because
have been
the
on
next
that
thing
other
you
half of the
know,
Oh, no. He was on the other half
they
of that boat.
they like feel something, and they kind of are all moving around, and they tell so and so, they're trying to call the captain and tell him again, like,
Yep.
we need to slow down. And so Siebert tells some other guy, go tell the captain, like, personally, that we need to slow down. Well, he opens the door to half the ship gone.
No, but that was after that weld didn't hold.
Right.
It
I know.
already
It
cracked.
already.
Yeah, so
it already
that's why
busted
he was
open.
like, we need to go tell him now, and we need to slow it down.
Taking on water.
Yeah, half your ship's gone. And then this scene was scary because he's like looking at the other half of the ship sinking, and I was like, or this could go really bad and it's gonna crash into them. Both
Yeah.
things are gonna sink. It's
Right.
gonna explode. Like all this stuff. Where I was like, oh my god.
Exactly.
What kept me like just jaw dropped was the nose of that ship was now facing the middle of the cut ship.
I know.
Right.
So
Yeah,
as
it had
it split
all
it
the way
did a
around.
circle, like a 180,
Mhm.
if that's what it is. And then was like the nose of the ship was literally coming straight to them.
Right. It looked like it was going to crash right into them, but I guess it didn't, and then they just floated
Yeah,
along
that
on
half
their
is
merry
sunk
way.
in. I'm going to assume there were probably no survivors from that half of the ship. That is my assumption.
Accurate.
Yeah.
So then we
Probably,
kind of
yeah.
get this divide, right? There's another guy on the ship who I think seems higher up. I don't really know
Sure.
what his name was or whatever, but he's trying to convince all the other people that they should just get on the lifeboats. And it's so funny because Andre, who doesn't know much about water and storms, was
I
like,
don't know
heck
nothing.
yeah, I'm getting on a lifeboat. And I was like, no,
No.
babe, you would not get on a lifeboat.
Right.
And he was like, yes, I would. And then in the scene where they put down the lifeboat and it broke, and I said, you see why you wouldn't get on the lifeboat now? And he was like, yeah.
Well, okay, so
Maybe in normal circumstances
Not
without
in
the
that
storm.
not
Sure,
in
sure,
the
sure.
storm. I told him, I was like, you would last 5 seconds out there in a storm on that
Yeah,
lifeboat. You were a
no.
goner.
Right, that's the thing. So this scene arises, and all the guys are they're having this split discussion or whatever, right? Here, you can have these. It's okay. They were having this split discussion: lifeboats, or stay on this half a boat. And and in my mind, half a boat seemed like the worst scenario, you know. And so I was like,
In Andre's mind.
so like, yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, let's pull down lifeboats. Let's get on those, because I'm guessing that this half a boat is not going to stay
But
up
in a
as much as
storm,
the other one.
well, for them, they were on a.
Let me finish.
Okay.
So they're having this discussion, and I'm on lifeboat, team of the lifeboats, and then Siebert comes in and he explains that, like, bros, if we get on those lifeboats, they're going to crush us to death. And then I go, oh, okay, I guess I don't want to be on a lifeboat. But the other guys, they don't listen to Siebert. He's like an outcast. He's married to the boat or whatever. They think he's weird. So nobody
I would
listens.
be
He's
listening to
weird.
the man married to the boat.
Me
Yes.
too.
Okay,
Hands
Exactly.
down.
So that's the difference between me and these other guys, is that they're just not listening, and they're scared, obviously, or whatever. But they're like, we're gonna put down a lifeboat, and so they go out there and they try to do that, and then Siebert goes out there to save them. He takes an axe, he cuts the lifeboat off. When the lifeboat falls, it immediately crashes and breaks into a gajillion pieces,
Millions of
right
pieces.
up against the boat. And he's like, you see that? That would have been your heads.
He's like, I saved your life.
if you did
and
that.
then some of them are like, thank you. And then the one dude is like, our life is in your hands now. I hope you didn't just kill us. And I was like,
guy
he
from-
literally just saved
He's
you.
from Once Upon a Time. Do you remember him?
Who
Was he a
is
bad guy?
I can't remember who he
I don't
plays. I
remember.
think he was. No, he wasn't a dwarf. No, I can't
I
remember
almost
who he
just
played,
said,
but
was he a dwarf?
I don't know.
So maybe he was, Emily.
Maybe.
But anyways, I was like, shut up. He just saved you. And for his plan to work, he wants to like rig up this stern
he
thingy,
wants to
whatever.
make a tiller, like
Yeah,
a
tiller.
manual one.
Oh man, well, which is a great idea
Yeah, I
in
mean-
his defense. And he's saying literally the only hope we have, because we only have 3 feet of water left before the air vents and the water pumps stop working and the power goes out, and then you're just kind of up to the wave of the ocean. It's going to sink, you know. He's like, we need to blow the horn as many times as possible, and we need to rig this up to get to the shoal.
We need to
'cause
run it
to
aground.
We need to run it aground. We need to stay in place so that they can hopefully get to us if they're not in the current. All of this is like a very good idea. He needs as many hands on deck as possible.
And listen to Michelle like reciting this like real good. You a Seabird.
I know. I love water stuff, guys. Okay, like one time when we went on the ship, we did like a whole backstage tour of the ship and like met the captain and stuff, and it was like the best day ever.
She like, oh yeah.
I love this kind of stuff.
Captain Michelle.
Oh, I would have been like, we could
I'm
have taken an
definitely
airplane
like
to
a
this place.
seahorse. I
Hey,
love
guys,
water
guys,
stuff.
guys, quiet down. Captain's teaching.
Captain's
teaching. So he does it all very successfully, but
Uh-huh.
he needs the help of all those men. So it's
Right.
a good thing they stayed. But they still, at that point, once they finally get to the shoal, the clock is just ticking. Like, that's all they have behind
Yeah,
them.
time is just
'Cause
running
I think
out.
originally he was like, we have like 4 or 5 hours. And I mean, it definitely took them that long to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
There's a couple of very scary scenes where the boat is just acting up, and nature is attacking it, and stuff is just flying everywhere. There's barrels coming down at 70 miles an hour. almost hitting dudes
there
in
was
the
like
head.
dudes hanging from the rafters. So I was like, oh, jeez.
well, and there
Oh
was
my
multiple
God.
times where I was like, you know, someone like
I could have sworn
died.
someone got hit by
You know what
the-
I mean?
by
Like
the
you
tiller
know
or-
somebody died at that point, because there's no way that every single person
Exactly.
missed that huge beam
That
fall.
tiller
No,
is
for
moving,
sure.
The chains are going. It's a disaster in there.
For sure. But they get there, and the Coast Guard people find us. But I was way more interested in all of that Like,
Sure.
we didn't go that detailed into it, but, like, all of that was, like, cool. I was like, I like this part of the movie.
Right.
But I wish it was way more of the movie. It was only, like, 35% of the movie. You
Agreed.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where I
no.
was like, all right.
Miriam got a whole 25%.
Well,
to
and that was
herself.
the thing.
Ugh,
So we
yeah.
kept going back and forth between like uber high drama and then confusing melodrama.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, so it didn't. Like, if you're gonna like anxiety fill me, like, let's just freaking see everything that's happening on the boat from every single person's perspective.
Like
since you're
Titanic.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
since you're insisting on giving me 32
Give me
characters,
all of these characters.
you
yeah.
know, because
Let's just do it. Yeah.
like, what is his name? Wally West.
Yeah, Eldron.
Oh, yeah.
What was his name?
What was his name?
Eldron.
Eldrin.
I believe that's his name in
the
the
one
movie.
they were calling Pop?
No. The young black kid
Oh, yeah.
on the boat.
Elron.
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 Elron Hubbard.
I think so.
I don't know.
Wally
He's-
West.
He's Wally
Yeah,
West.
Wally West from The Flash.
The Flash. He like, you feel sympathy for him because he's obviously the youngest person on the boat, and he's like the chef's assistant,
Yeah, he's very,
right?
he's
I'm
very
laughing
scared.
because of something Andre said.
So,
Oh, what did you
so
say?
towards the end,
I'll
they're,
let him say
they're,
it.
they're all getting rescued. They're getting onto Bernie's tiny little boat, and Elrond is up there, and he's like,
See-
I don't know, man, I'm scared. And Michelle's like, oh no, what's wrong? You think he had a traumatic experience with the water?
Oh, and I said something. I was like, is he like a special kid? They're like treating him so differently.
Yeah.
But now that you're telling me he's a chef assistant, I get it. Okay,
And
now
think
I
that
get it.
They treated him like a little brother. Like,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was-
Right.
They just
Yeah.
treated him like he was much younger and stuff.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like, he's so scared. Like, they're
Some
almost
special
talking
needs
to
or
him
something.
like he has special needs.
Yeah.
But now that you're saying he's like a chef, yeah, he knows nothing about boats. He's probably
Yeah, no,
terrified.
I think
get
he was
that.
just like the chef's assistant.
Yeah, but this
kid.
is what Andre said.
I was like, no, he's just the young black kid on the boat, and they trying to get him to get in this water. I'd be exactly the same. I gotta get down that ladder, and then I gotta jump to the boat. Y'all can just leave me here. I'm gonna die.
But like, we could have gotten more from him. Like, I didn't
Sure.
need to just see him be a scared kid.
Right.
Like, okay,
He could have
like,
done something cool a
yeah,
little bit earlier.
or just not been in the movie.
Yeah,
like
that too.
Like, he could have just been a background person. But like, then you have like the chef. Like, I'm supposed to care because he is the only person who perishes.
Yes.
So like,
Tiny is his
like
name.
Tiny, the big old butcher man.
Yes.
Like, so I should care more about him. But the only notable thing he does is sing. The people all said, "Sit down. You're rocking the boat." Fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
that's the one thing that you're gonna be known for in this movie.
And then
He didn't even feed them.
Yeah, where was the food at, man?
Like, if you got food, like, feed your dudes.
Come on, Chef Tiny. So they're doing the rescue mission. They're in the throes of it. At one point, Bernie's like, "How many people can we fit on this boat?" And they're like, "We could probably take 12." And they're like, "There's 32 dudes up there." It's like, "Okay, we could take like 22 tops." And then they're like, "There's still 8 guys left." He's like, "All right, we're either we all die or we all live. That's what it's got to be." So all 32
That's when he
dudes,
decided to not be a rule breaker.
right? All of these dudes are attempting to get on this boat. When Tiny goes down the ladder,
Oh yeah.
I don't know what happens. He tries to jump off,
He slips and the wave just.
and the wave
took him.
just takes him and just crashes his
He's
entire
dead.
body into the rocks or the shoal or the boat or whatever. And they're like, "Well, we can't go back for him."
Well,
So
no,
they-
he drowned immediately,
Yes.
probably.
So they save everybody but Tiny. They get all 30 of these dudes onto this boat, including the 4 that came to save them. And then they make their way back.
I
back
thought
to
that Seabird was going to stay on the ship, but he didn't.
Me, so
Right.
did we.
That's what I
Because they
thought
were
too.
like, you can be the last one. And I was like, he's married to this boat. He's going to stay on it.
We
But
kept
he
saying
didn't.
like
Right.
the captain goes down with the boat type
Uh-huh.
of a thing. And even though he wasn't the captain, he seemed so
he
attached
took on
to
that
it.
captain role. when-
Yeah.
when
You
he
could tell he was definitely sad when he got off.
And then
of
I
it,
thought they were at least going to mention like, "No, guys, I'll stay here because the weights that you guys need to have less weight on the boat." Or
100%.
Well, they didn't bring it up. He's like, "All right, I'm coming."
When I told
Make some
Andre, I
room.
was like, obviously they're going to have to pick some of them to stay, and they're going to have to take volunteers or something, but that didn't happen.
Right. They mentioned at one point like maybe we can leave some of them here and then come back, and then they decide not to do that. And I guess it all works out because they all
I
make
know.
their way back.
I'm like, wow, that's like very good lucky stars right
Yeah.
there. Someone was
Yeah.
praying.
Well,
like,
I think the thing is that the storm had started to subside by this
Yeah.
point. Like on their trip back to Massachusetts proper or whatever, the storm is slowing down, so they're having much less of those waves that they have
But
to
which is
speed
good.
through.
But the thing that's even worse is like, okay, you get rescued from this boat. you're not rescued yet. You're still in a storm now on a dinghy, and you have to get all the way back. Now you have no compass, and you're entrusting your life in Bernie, who you're like, well, hope he knows how to come back.
Right.
But Siebert is like, all right, like, you got it. And I think Siebert is like, well, he got all the way here. Like, he can obviously get back. Kind of like how he is. You know what I mean?
Well, and this is one thing that really... Luis and I we didn't fight over it, but it was like a moment of contention for me in this movie. Like, where I actually got mad because you constantly are hearing a back and forth between Eric Bana at like U.S. Coast Guard headquarters, and he's telling him like, do this, don't do that, blah 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 blah. And he finally like calls in and is like, I got all 31 dudes, and he's like, oh my god, right? And everyone's like really excited, but it's like then you feel the like, oh my god, we have to come back, like that same feeling that Michelle just described. And Eric Bana says like there is another boat right near you ish, like near you. Go take them and leave them on that boat and they'll be safe there.
Right.
And in my head, I'm like, boom. All right, movie over.
Here
like,
we go.
sounds great. Like, we're going to do our celebration scene on the top
the
of the boat
Yep.
and we going to be done. And he's like, no, I will take them back to the shore. And Luis had but hold on.
Okay.
Like Luis had his like reasoning why that would or would not work or whatever. But I'm thinking in my head like, well then why even bring it up?
Wasn't
like,
that boat that they were taking them to the broken boat?
I kind of
the fact that we
so,
don't
but
know is an
then
issue.
I also thought it was that one boat that the sailor from the Navy was waiting for.
Right.
Yeah.
And that boat just kind of jumped in the rescue mission and said, you know, hey, we're out here, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in his defense, he probably wasn't confident of getting to that boat without a compass, but was confident getting back to shore. But I was also under the impression, I think the name of the boat that they said to take him to was the other broken boat, and then just wait for that person to come because they were almost there to save them. And I think he was like, no, I'm just going to take him back to shore.
See, but like we don't know for sure.
But I don't know if that's
he
for
literally
sure.
could have said, like, because what he said, like what came out of, what's his name? Bernie? What came out of Bernie's mouth was, you just got off one boat. I'm not going to go put you on another boat. And I
It
understand.
was like, he's not going to put you on another broken boat. But like I said, this was my interpretation.
Well, and I understand like that sentiment, but he could have said something like,
I lost my compass. I have no way of getting there. You guys are safer.
like, I feel more confident,
Right.
like,
Getting
as
you
the
home.
Coast Guard man to get us back by doing X, Y, Z. And then I would have been like, cool, sounds great.
Exactly.
But, like,
Yeah.
they got me excited, and I was like, okay, now we just stupid.
Hey,
like, we're
the
going a
storm
different
really
way.
didn't calm down. It
was
hadn't-
letting up.
well, letting up from 70 mile per hour to maybe about
Right.
40, but
Maybe-
still kind
sure.
of scary.
Well,
So, like,
yes, that, but they also weren't, like, going underwater with all...
Well, and
I
at
don't
this
know.
point,
Right.
I was also terrified because I was like, they barely got over the bar, and now the boat has a ton
Oh
more
yeah,
weight.
definitely.
Like, I don't think they would have gotten over the bar safely. But he
unless it was high tide.
which they got lucky, and it wasn't. They
Yeah.
just floated over the bar.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that.
And they also didn't explain
You know?
that either. Like
Um,
their ride home, they do a couple of slow-mo shots with like some water hitting all these sailors'
And I
faces
think that
and
was
stuff
supposed
like
to
that.
be them going over the bar.
I guess, but
But I
Well,
was
I
like,
think
oh, they got over it?
Bernie
Like,
was
nice.
so out of it. He was like falling asleep and stuff. Where I was like, "Is he okay? Like, what's going on?" It was very confusing.
they never do like an exterior shot where you can see the boat in the water and how it's easily
Tell me
how
how
easily or hard
sick
it's
it
moving.
would have been if they did like you're looking at that shot where like the sailors are getting like splashed in the face and then it like pans out hecka far and then you're like almost in like a not a space view but like
an aerial
super high aerial view and you can like see down through the water and you see the bar
Right.
because at this point we understand it's like an underwater barrier and you see them like in a wave right
Just
over the
go
top
right
of it.
over it. That would have
Then-
been cool.
Then we would have been like
And it would have made a lot of sense.
yeah, we're like, all right, well, you did it.
Let's
But
redo it.
According to this movie, I don't even really know how they got back. They could have gone around the bar. They could have gone over it. They could have gone under it. I don't know how
All
it
they
works.
made was that comment. He's like, "I guess we got over the bar."
Like, must be nice.
Okay.
All
Well, he did it.
And
Like, if
and
you're-
they followed the lights to the town, and that's about it.
That
man.
was another. Oh my gosh.
That was another. There was another part that Miriam could have shined here.
And it
They
petered.
like what is going on? They the whole town. They're at a rescue center. They're like, guys, we got to get down to the pier. We gotta help
stop.
or whatever.
So they hear that they're coming back in, and then you hear someone say, like in the background, they're not going to make it because at that moment
the power
goes out and all the generators are gone, and they're like, they're not going to be able to find the town. And then they're like, we just need to get down to the pier. And I look at Luis and I'm like, great, they're all going to drive their cars, they're going to have their headlights, and they're going to show them where the shore is. Like, I think every single person got that.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, well, let me get my car. So everyone gets in their cars and they get there. And she's standing there, and honestly, she just doesn't turn off her car. She has no forethought.
Yeah.
She just stands there, and then other people are like,
hey, look what Miriam's doing. Hey, everybody, turn your lights on.
And it was
guys.
the worst shot because obviously all of their cars are facing the ocean already. And I was like, why'd they turn their lights off? Like, obviously we knew this was the plan. And I'm like, y'all are dumb. Like,
and it wasn't the plan, though. That's
that
why
was
it's stupid.
obviously
Right.
like really dramatized, I'm sure.
What
but
was the
I
point
was
of you guys
like-
all going down there to just sit there and turn your lights on? They made it purposefully not make sense, and I don't know why. Like, what they should have done was have Miriam be in the rescue center, go like, hey guys, the power just went out, we all need to take our cars, go down to the pier, turn the lights on so they can see us. And that would have been a shining moment for her.
Because I was like, well, obviously there's no lighthouse. That's what they're doing.
Right.
Like,
But instead,
I
they're
thought
kind
it
of
made
like,
sense until it just didn't.
exactly.
Make
It
sense.
made sense when they're on the way there. It made sense even when they got there, but then the lights are off, and then Miriam's lights are still on, and somebody goes, hey, look what Miriam's doing. Turn your lights on.
And it was so unintentional. Like,
So
she didn't
stupid.
do it for any purpose other than she just got out of her car.
Like, what is why,
it
what
was
the
it was
motivation
bad.
for
Like
the
that was
way
a
that
really
this was
bad shot. And then they're like congratulating everyone, like, yay, Bernie, because he's back, right? And they get them all off the boat, and Bernie's just like on the boat still, and Andre's like, get off the boat, get
Bro,
off the boat,
Get off the boat. you made
And
it home.
immediately the crowd is gone, and it's just him and her. I'm like,
Everybody leaves. They're like, all right, whatever, Bernie. Peace out. And then Miriam gets on the boat. I'm like, what are we doing here?
get out.
Get off
Go
of
to
the
bed.
boat.
go get warm and go to bed, sir. And the movie ends. It does spit like some little fun facts and shows you some real photos at the end.
They got married on April 16th, which is the date that she wanted to get married. And then they were married for another 58 years before he died at the age of 81 or something like that.
Something like that. But Emily's going to go into some factoids.
Yeah, so this is actually really interesting. I was trying to find some like information on like how realistic the story was because we were so confused about certain things. And I guess like the cool thing is that most of the things are realistic and true, which is good.
Right.
This movie is based on a book, The Finest Hours, the true story of the U.S. Coast Guard's most daring sea rescue. So this was this did go down in history as one of the U.S. Coast Guard's like biggest crowning achievements, which is really cool. And then they did write a book about it. So here's a couple facts. The Pendleton did split in half because of a crack in its hull that couldn't hold against the raging sea. So that wasn't like made up. There were two tankers out there, and the one that he did save was the Pendleton, which is really cool. Fact, after securing boats to the pier, Bernie was ordered by Chatham Station Commanding Officer Clough to pick a crew for the mission, and he got 3 volunteers. Richard the dudes, right?
His bros.
Richie, Fitz, and Irvin. So those 3 dudes were his go-tos in the original mission.
And they all got awards, right?
Yes. Fiction. Bernie and his girlfriend Miriam were on the brink of getting engaged when Bernie set out to the rescue mission. Okay, then just get rid of her.
So they added all of that in.
Yes.
For this movie.
And it was awful.
And it was really bad.
Just get it out.
I'm telling you, babe. I said when the movie started, I said they're only doing this so that we feel more scared when he goes on the boat. This is one of those stupid movie
But they
ploys.
could have done it so much better. Like they could have.
Are you ready for this?
Yes, please go ahead.
They had actually already been married for more than a year and a half.
Why-
Andre said he would rather have them already been
They
married.
absolutely should have already
Their
been married.
real life courtship played out much as it does in the film. So show us them getting courted. Show her being a strong woman. Show them getting married quickly on the date that she wanted to.
Her being a scared wife.
And then allow. Because I kept thinking to myself, who cares?
Right.
Like, not that it matters that they're engaged or whatever. Like, it doesn't. I'm not saying like your love isn't the same when you're engaged, but like give them some like like some gravitas,
something real.
You know, like
you know,
Was she pregnant?
'cause,
Was she not?
from the
like,
audience's point of view, it's like, all right, they've been dating around, and now
Like
I
4
guess
months.
they're kind of halfway engaged because he technically said no when she asked him to marry him, and now she's just like kind of scared that he's gonna die, but she's not even really voicing that when she's doing it. Like she's like, I'm here, and where's Bernie? You sent him out, didn't you? Call him back.
who are you, his grandma?
Yeah.
Well, and then I was thinking in my head too, like, he's in the Coast Guard, honey. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
that's his job.
Exactly.
That's
And
another
that-
thing.
And that's why I kept kind of relating it back to like and well, for Californians, I guess, like where we live right now,
Firefighters.
like firefighters or policemen, like
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be rude, but like, you know what you're getting yourself into
Yeah.
when you get called in every day.
Straight up, I told Andre, I said, when I was like in middle school and high school, I told myself, heck no, I ain't never, ever dating a police officer or fireman for that reason, because I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Right.
Like, and that's
it's
just me
It's hard.
personally.
Yeah.
Like, people would be like, oh, firefighters are hot. I'm like, nope.
No,
thank
They
you.
can be as hot as they want.
Not hot for me. I
They're
ain't doing
hot
it.
until
No,
they're
they're
too
way
hot.
too
you know what I'm
hot.
saying?
I know how much I can handle, and it ain't that.
So
Um,
here's some more facts that are. So it's. I'm mad because the facts are giving me more reason to be mad.
Right.
Oh, no.
At the
This
movie.
one, Chatham Station was on its own in the Pendleton rescue because the Boston and Nantucket Coast Guards had dispatched all their crews to another oil tanker that has split in half. So that still is very true,
Right.
which is cool. So I feel like
They should have said it better.
they should have like made that have more
Right.
like emphasis as well, because that is amazing that the Coast Guard up and down the coast was all going to this one tanker. I don't know. Another fact, one of the most dangerous parts of the rescue mission was getting past the bar, right?
Mhm.
So the crew thought hard about whether to even attempt it, which we did see.
Yes.
But again, I think that as the viewer, you have to know a lot to understand even what that means.
There should have just been like a thing before they went out, where maybe even Richie was been like, dude, to get over that bar, we're gonna have to be going this fast. It's gonna be the winds are going this fast, the waves are gonna be this high, and we're gonna have to go through all that in the dark. Can you do that? And he was like, I don't know, but we gotta try.
And our percentage rating of survival is 11%.
Right,
Like, I
exactly.
don't know. Like,
Did it say at all that they didn't know that there was a second boat split? Like, was that true?
I didn't read about that, but I do know that I don't know if they knew or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't read that in this article. You're gonna love this part. Mostly fact. Okay. The rescue took place largely as depicted in the movie, with the exception of the song that the men sang to soothe themselves during a moment of overwhelming fear.
Okay.
What is the point of sharing that?
So they didn't.
All right.
So they didn't
So they
sing.
didn't sing a seaman
All-
song. I don't
all
really
the-
care.
All the guys in the movie like, hey, we ain't singing that song.
They didn't sing Rock of
That was
Ages.
irrelevant to me, but all right.
That
Okay.
Okie
Great.
Well, to some peeps where music is supposedly the cat's pajamas, you guys definitely are not happy.
Not in a movie like this.
I was like, I didn't even remember that they
oh, I
sang.
didn't like the music.
This was not the
it
musical
wasn't as
number
good.
that I wanted.
Are you ready for this? Partly
Wasn't a banger.
fiction.
Okay.
George Tiny Myers, the beloved 300-pound part-time chef, died after a wave caused him to be tossed against the Pendleton while descending the ladder to the rescue boat. So
Okay.
he was one of the 33 members on the Pendleton
Mhm.
To not make it.
the only one, to die. But he died in a different way, as depicted on screen. He slipped from the ladder into the scene, and the crew tried to pull him aboard, but his weight was so great that he was slipping into the water, lost their grip.
Oh.
He was swallowed by a wave and then resurfaced, but when Bernie navigated the lifeboat toward him, a wave made the boat lose control and it slammed into Tiny.
So their boat hit
Yes,
him.
so Bernie ran him over. Not intent.
Dang.
He
Not
didn't run him
intentionally.
over.
Right.
He accidentally slapped into him.
Yeah.
Well, you
Can you
can't
imagine just
choose
being-
the wave.
I think that was one of the things I really liked, though, cinematography-wise, was that there was multiple times where, like, you would look back out at Bernie's boat from the sinking ship, and he was, like, super far out
Super
again.
far away.
Yeah, 'cause
And
the
they
waves.
would, like, keep coming in and out.
And it kept getting
But
taken.
unfortunately, Tiny, it was a little bit more gruesome
That's
in real life.
Much more
morbid.
harrowing.
Um,
Yikes.
So, partly fiction, Bernie actually was haunted by a failed rescue attempt a few years back, and Miriam encountered the widow of one of the victims when she crashed her car into a snowbank. So, the part fiction, who wrote this?
True or is it not true? Like,
So that part was mostly true, but
so pretty much Bernie did have exactly that whole thing happen with the Landry.
Mhm.
He had gone out to go get the 4 crew members, but their dory capsized multiple times on the way to the rescue boat. So the dudes on the Landry got into a dory and
Okay.
tried to get to the rescue boat, but they capsized, their oars broke off, and they were trying to swim over to Bernie, and they drowned pretty much in their attempt to get to him. And the victims' remains weren't recovered, so everybody had to take like Bernie's word for it for what happened.
okay.
But
But
so
even still,
not his fault.
yeah, not his fault.
yeah, I don't
And
know.
the
I'm gonna say
vitriol-
he tried his best.
Right.
But then Miriam. Who
It
wrote
says
this?
as Miriam was stuck at home with the flu, her encounter with the widow was fabricated.
Thank
So-
you. That was totally irrelevant.
yeah. they
Thank
didn't
you
even
for
put
reading
in.
that for me because I just couldn't even get that out. So Miriam never barged into the Chatham station demanding that commanding officer Clough called Bernie back home and was waiting at the pier to welcome him home. Oh no, that's fiction.
So that whole part of the movie was not real. That she went there, talked to Clough, told him to come back, and then went to the pier to.
So the best part
to
is
work
we
with that.
could have just cut her out.
Could've
Or
Could've cut her out.
completely.
yeah, she could have just been like worried at home.
Yeah.
And you could have just like gone back to her face up against the like window or up against like the radio or something.
We
Yeah.
didn't need it.
We didn't need it. And you know, to be fair, like a lot of movies don't have a lot of women or a lot of roles for women in them, especially a movie like this where all the people that are going to do the saving are men and all the people who need to be saved are men. So there's no real place for a woman in the storyline of this movie. But then to create this whole storyline for her where she also does nothing. I don't even understand what the point was. You could have had her do something. If you were going to make stuff up, you know, you might
exactly. Well, and that's why I was like, oh, this isn't like she's real. Okay, good.
Mhm.
Oh no, you just made her into like even less
as well.
important.
Yeah. She crashed her car into the snowbank. That was the real sacrifice that she
Oh,
made.
good God.
Oh, all right.
And then the same guy had to come save her. I was like, come on, this guy. How small is this town?
It was real
It
small.
was. That was.
They
so
only got
stupid.
like 7 guys when all the other guys out on the water, you know?
So Andre, I know you said you remember kind of seeing like trailers
I remember
and
seeing
stuff
trailers
for this movie.
yeah.
I remember seeing just like Chris Pine's face like on a billboard,
the
but it
poster?
was like I ain't ever watching that movie. But did it make money? Did it do well?
Okay. This movie had a budget of...
He laughs, which makes me think it
it
didn't do well.
It had
But
a budget of $80 million. And
Okay.
at the box office, it came
I was
back...
like, did they shoot this in a pool and just like CGI everything? You know how they do that, like for these kind of movies.
They
I
do
was
that
like,
for
babe, you got hired for this movie, but you have to be wet the whole time. And he was like, no.
yeah, no, I'm not even auditioning for this movie. And at the box office, with a budget of $80 million, at the box office, it had a return worldwide of $52.1 million. So no, it did not make any money.
Luis
lost.
just said that's not bad, but it lost $30
It
million.
lost $30 million.
They lost $30 million, Luis.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not
yeah.
that bad.
Can you pick up your mic and at least nod into your
What do you
mic so they can
mean?
hear
Did
you?
That's
Mulan
bad. They
lose
didn't even-
more.
Well,
Okay,
okay.
that's a whole different.
That's a whole different
You can't-
Oh,
situation.
you're right. I can't
This
compare
this
that.
movie didn't come out during COVID, okay?
You're right. I'm sorry.
This is not a COVID movie.
That makes it even worse.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
can talk about that kind of stuff on the crack maybe one day. All
Yeah.
of these COVID movies ain't making no money.
Well, yeah, that's
Good Lord.
That's very
Yeah,
No,
they
this was-
lost money then.
This was pre-COVID, losing on its own.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
It says Disney
What year was this?
2016.
2016.
In March 2016, Variety reported Disney was expecting losses of around $75 million from the film. That's interesting.
That's what
So
I'm
they're-
saying. Hey, I call this a win. I see this as a win, only losing 30.
We only lost 30. We expected to lose way more. That's interesting.
They expected to lose almost as much as they used.
As they
Then why
spent.
would they
To
make the
spend it.
movie?
That's
No,
a
this
good
is
question.
like afterwards.
know.
Like we made the movie. Bro, we
Right.
messed up.
Yeah, coming into it
Yeah.
being released. But still, it's interesting.
I need to know the tomato then.
how this movie got made. Okay.
It's probably not good.
On
I'm gonna guess it's like 40 something.
Oh, okay. On Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has a score of 63%. It is still
Okay, that's about
technically fresh. The audience score is
That's
60.
considered fresh.
Yes.
When do you stop being
60s.
fresh?
I think
It's
under
60 and
50
above.
is rotten.
Hmm.
Yeah. The audience score is 66%. The critics'
sounds
consensus says, old-fashioned to a fault, the finest hours will satisfy those seeking a traditional rescue drama, but may leave more adventurous viewers wanting more.
Okay, that is a pretty
Nah,
good.
The one with Ashton Kutcher is fire.
Which one's that?
What's
I
that?
forgot what it's called.
Ashton Kutcher.
I feel like there's a
Anything with Ashton
like
Kutcher
there's a
is
Nicholas
not fire.
Sparks movie that's like this, where it's like the Coast Guard, and I can't think of what it's called.
It's not Message in a Bottle?
No,
Oh,
Looks
okay.
like there's one with Thor called In the Heart of the Sea.
Yeah, I think
Deadliest Catch was not Deadliest Catch. Sorry, the
Nice
Deadliest Storm or something like that with George Clooney was supposed to be really good.
let me look.
I only like the Life
But then
Aquatic
there's
with
one
Steve
like
Zissou.
I forgot what it's called, but Ashton Kutcher was in it, and I think Dennis Quaid might have been in it too.
Interesting. Open season. Bobby.
If you say so.
Guess who? No. Just married. Texas Rangers. Okay. Ashton Kutcher's IMDb list is not giving me anything.
Was it the last song? Was that the one that was like that? I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, you guys. Yeah, this movie got 66%. So not terrible.
No.
But not great either.
Let's go ahead and start. I want to start with Luis's rating because his will probably be the best out of it.
I'll give it a 7.
Sim.
Okay, Andre.
Wait, Luis.
Oh,
So
It's
what's
called The Guardian.
oh okay.
The Guardian. Yes.
Oh, it was awesome.
I've seen that one. I liked that one.
So you hadn't watched this movie before this viewing, right? So what chose you to pick it? Is there something that you saw that looked
That's
like a Luis movie?
yeah. That's a movie. Go
Okay.
out there, do the impossible feat, try to save some peeps, almost die.
Gotcha.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I think I'm gonna give this movie a 5.5.
Whoa.
I really like if some of those plot things that we detailed had been done better, and if it had been a little bit brighter of a movie, at least in our case, I might have enjoyed this enough to give it like a passing grade. But like there were just so many inconsistencies throughout the entire thing, and then notwithstanding that this isn't my favorite type of movie anyway, but I can't even recommend this to anybody really. I don't think you should go watch this. Go watch Titanic. Go watch any other boat movie.
Go watch The Guardian.
I think every other boat movie I've seen is better than this.
other boat movie.
In my opinion.
Message in a Bottle.
Yep, even Message
Yeah.
in a Bottle.
Does that have mermaids in it?
No, it's
No.
I don't believe you.
It doesn't have mermaids
it's
in
just
it.
messages and bottles.
It's this super old Nicholas Sparks movie I made Andre watch because I used to like it as a teen.
I'm gonna
It's got
say
Kevin
nay.
Costner in it.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah, 5.5. I think that the performances are fine. None of them like Oscar worthy or anything like that. But other than that,
Mr. Siebert was definitely Oscar.
Siebert was cool. Casey Affleck is a great actor. Chris Pine was
Mhm.
good. I loved all the Boston accents, but I didn't love anything else.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna give it a 6 because it's still kind of solid. I'm almost exactly agree with the score that they gave it on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
I'll never watch it again.
Never.
It was fine. It's a 6. It wasn't like the cinematography wasn't terrible. It was fine. It probably looked cooler like on a big screen in the
Sure.
theater, where I probably could have seen it better because we were having like just some color issues with our TV, which is weird because our TV is bomb.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
say it's your guys' windows.
I think it was
because
I think
you
it's
guys
the
have
windows,
really
yeah.
big windows, and it has to be a glare issue because
Yeah.
we did not have that problem, and our
Okay.
TV is not as nice as yours.
Right.
That's probably what it was. 6. Emily.
I give the exact same description as Andre. I probably would have given it like a 6 or a 7 had the plot point. Honestly, if the movie had been a little bit more simplified.
Yeah.
Because like simplified but also explained more.
Yeah.
When it comes to like the maritime pieces.
Right.
Overall though, just not my favorite movie. I keep giggling to myself because we're in the Disney movie club or whatever where you like buy the movies and you get like special perks or whatever. And every month they like send you a new movie, like, do you want to purchase this? And they have asked me like 4 times if I wanted to buy this movie, and every time, like, I don't even ask Luis anymore. I'm like, no.
Yeah, why would you buy this movie?
Well, and I'd never seen it, but
They're trying to sell
same
it.
idea. Like, it was like the front. I saw his face, and I was like, no.
No, this doesn't even seem like a Disney movie to me.
No, it doesn't. Which is
Like
interesting.
I didn't feel like we watched a Disney movie this week.
No, definitely
Yeah,
not.
it's interesting. There was nothing about that in like the production or anything like that. It seems like Disney just produced and made this. But you know, a lot of times Disney will just like buy something that's already been made, and so that's kind of more what this seems like. That's somebody else made it, and then Disney was like, okay, yeah, we'll give you some money for that. But no, it looks like Walt Disney Pictures acquired the rights and made the movie, and
Well, and especially when you watch
lost
the
all the
beginning,
money.
like it has the Disney
Mhm.
beginning,
Yep.
and like it's all like 40s ish and stuff. Okay, so score wise, I'll give it a 6.
6.
All right, not
The
bad.
good thing though is that no, never mind.
So I'll say what the good thing is. The good thing is we're getting into our October movie month, where I think we're gonna have a good time.
I hope so.
Yes.
I really hope so. There's a couple movies where I haven't seen in forever. So I'm
the
excited.
movie we're gonna do next, I'll let Andre announce it because he has been wanting to watch this movie for quite a long time,
like
and
forever.
we thought it seemed like a good October movie. So what are we watching, babe?
Next week we are watching the what year did this come out? The 1996 half live action, half stop motion animated movie James and the
I
Giant
didn't know
Peach.
it was half.
I didn't
Live
know it was
action?
half live action.
Mhm,
I definitely seen
mhm.
this, but I don't remember it very
This
much.
movie is dope. I like this
There's
movie.
a spider
lot.
in it, right?
There's a whole bunch of bugs
Yeah,
happening in
I
this
don't
movie.
know. It's not half live action.
I guess so.
The beginning of this movie is definitely in live action, and then at one point
He's
James.
making it up. He doesn't know.
At one point, James he is shrunken down and or
Wait,
no.
don't tell us the
Yeah,
plot.
I
All
don't-
right. Okay,
No.
but
No.
It turns to animation,
Okay,
for sure.
Stop motion.
stop motion animation. Yes.
And this is Tim
My
Burton.
name is James.
This is Tim Burton.
This
or
is
no?
not Tim Burton.
It
This-
looks Tim Burton-y,
Yes,
though.
it looks Tim Burton-y because it looks like Nightmare Before Christmas. This movie was directed by Henry Selick, who was the actual director of The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh,
remember? Because they did
Oh.
Tim Burton's
Yes,
Yeah.
Tim Burton's
Before
Nightmare Before Christmas, but he
Yeah.
did not direct
But
that
he didn't
movie.
do it.
It is produced by Tim Burton, so it does have a very similar style.
Is
Okay.
it Tim Burton's James and the Giant Peach?
No, it says Walt
Is it going to
Disney-
be the
Walt Disney
opposite, where
presents.
it's Tim Burton actually did it, and then the other dude produced it?
Siebert? Was his name Siebert?
Henry.
Okay,
Selick.
but I'm
Selick.
excited because I definitely
Tom's
saw
movie.
this as a kid, and I think I remember watching it at school. Now,
I-
maybe I'm thinking
no,
Charlotte's Web, but I think we did watch it in
watched
school.
This movie at school.
Was
I
it
did
based on
not.
a book?
Yeah, there's a
Okay,
book.
I think
it's
we
a,
read
it's
the
a,
book and
It's a
watched
Roald
the
Dahl
movie.
book.
Yes. Wait, we're doing 2 Roald Dahl things in one. That's fine.
That's fine.
It's Roald Dahl.
Well, you
Roald Dahl
guys
month.
might have got a clue to one of our other movies this month then. But
I
I'm
totally watched this movie
excited.
like when I was like in 3rd grade or something.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking now it probably was right about the time it came out because that would have been
96.
age-wise about when it came out.
Yeah. Just a few years later. Mm-hmm. My
I'm excited.
name is James.
He does that all
He's
the time.
done it so many
That's
times.
what mother calls me.
Oh.
Anyway,
I'm excited.
Stop.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
We
for
haven't
this
done
movie.
like a stop motion thing in a while, and that's very Halloween-esque to me.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked.
It's
We're
Halloween.
also going to probably do a special Crack in the Vault episode this month. So if you're not a subscriber, they should.
Head on over to patreon.com/the Walt Vault. Sign up there. It's very cheap. You get access to all of our extra content, our extra podcasts, the notes that I put up for each of these movies, and some Kingdom Hearts gameplays and stuff like that I do. All that's available.
And rants and raves.
Yes, there's rants, there's raves, all over at patreon.com/the Walt Vault. You can also keep up with us on social media. We are at the Walt Vault Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Go there, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of this movie, The Finest Hours, if you watched it at all, and
Stupid name for a
if
movie.
you've seen it.
We still don't know what it means.
Yeah, what were the hours? Why were they so fine?
They only had 5 hours, maybe.
I guess
It's not the 5 hours. It's the finest.
The finest hours.
Whatever.
I don't care.
And I was fighting with you about it being called the finest hour. It still would make more sense if it was the finest hour.
I guess, yeah.
Like it was his finest.
It was his finest hour. And they were the finest hours. He was getting over that bar. That took a couple hours. Then they got to the ship. That took a couple hours. Then they got back. That took a couple more hours. They were the finest hours of all.
Of the Coast Guard, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
The Coast Guards.
Yes. So let us know what you thought of the movie. Did you like it more than we did? Did you like it more than Luis did? Please let me know. I have to know who you are and what you're about. You can send an email to contact@thewaltvaultpod.com. You can buy our merch on our bonfire site. The link to that is in the description below. And like, rate, subscribe, do all those things. Leave us a review on iTunes. That helps us get the show to more ears. I think that's going to be it for this time. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of The Walt Vault. We'll see you next time for some giant peach goodness. The vault is now closed.